Mexico has an extraordinary player, and under the influence of Gilberto Mora, a 17-year-old boy who plays as if he has already seen what football will look like 10 years in the future, this Mexican national team could have a real chance to achieve something it has never accomplished before in a World Cup. Because Gilberto Mora sees things that other players simply do not see. He makes passes before the space even exists. He receives the ball as if the pressure around him is happening in slow motion. And that left foot looks like the left foot of a generational talent. But the most ridiculous thing is not just the quality, it is the age. Gilberto Mora Jr. has become the youngest player ever to start a match for the Mexican national team at just 17 years and 253 days old, surpassing Manuel Rosas, who previously held the record at 18 years and 87 days. And it gets even more incredible. The young Club Tijuana prodigy also became the youngest player to start a World Cup match since Nigerian Feyi Ogbabunmi did so at 17 years and 101 days in 2002. So we are not talking about the usual hype. We are talking about historic precocity. Mora Jr. continues to break records as if they were made specifically for him. Youngest player to debut in Liga MX. Youngest player to score a goal in Mexican football. Youngest player to provide an assist, the youngest player to win an international tournament with Mexico, and now, in his first World Cup start against the Czech Republic, he played as if nothing intimidated him. He showed incredible personality. He played with a maturity that makes no sense for his age, and was decisive in 2 of Mexico's 3 goals with precise passes, perfect timing, and the ability to make decisions like a veteran. It was not a 17-year-old carrying the creative hopes of an entire nation. The stage did not frighten him. His legs did not shake. He did not hide. He did not play it safe. He responded like a footballer with years of experience at the highest level. Mexico has a jewel in its hands. And the most surprising thing is that this was not just one good match. Just 2 years ago, Gilberto Mora made his Liga MX debut. 1 year ago, he lifted the Gold Cup with Mexico, starting all 3 knockout matches and even delivering an assist worthy of Lionel Messi. Then he played in the Under-20 tournament and proved he was well above almost everyone else on the field, finishing with 3 goals and 2 assists. And now, at just 17 years old, he has already scored 10 goals and provided 2 assists at the professional level with Club Tijuana. Real Madrid wants him. Barcelona wants him. And after this World Cup, believe me, they will not be the only ones lining up for him because his talent is exceptional. South Africa could not stop him, neither could the Czechs. And right now, Javier Aguirre has just completed Mexico's best group stage in World Cup history. 9 points out of 9 possible, 6 goals scored, 0 conceded. But beyond the perfect record, beyond the clean sheets, beyond the statistics, the real victory for El Tri is something far more important. Gilberto Mora has proven that he is ready to lead the creative side of this national team. And that could be the difference, not just for one match, not just for one tournament, but for the future of Mexican football. Don't believe me? Take a look at this. The FIFA World Cup is the biggest sporting event on the planet, and above all, it is the perfect place for young players to introduce themselves to the world. Because history has already shown us that teenagers can arrive at a World Cup as promising youngsters and leave as global superstars. Pelé did it in 1958. At just 17 years old, he arrived at the tournament with a knee injury and missed Brazil's first 2 matches. But once the knockout rounds began, he produced one of the greatest performances football has ever seen. In the quarterfinals, he scored the only goal in Brazil's 1-0 victory over Wales, becoming the youngest goal scorer in World Cup history. In the semifinals, he destroyed Just Fontaine's France with a hat-trick in only 23 minutes. And in the final against Sweden, he scored twice in Brazil's 5-2 victory, including that unforgettable goal where he flicked the ball over a defender inside the box before finishing with a volley. That was not just a breakthrough, it was the birth of a legend. Then came Kylian Mbappe in Russia 2018. At only 19 years old, Mbappe was not just part of the French national team that won the World Cup. He became the weapon that made Didier Deschamps' team so terrifying in transition. Against Argentina in the round of 16, he produced one of the most explosive performances of the modern era. He scored 2 goals and won a penalty after a breathtaking run from inside his own half, reaching speeds of over 30 kilometers per hour and tearing apart the Argentine defense. Then, in the final against Croatia, he scored again and became the first teenager to score in a World Cup final since Pelé in 1958. 4 goals. Best young player of the tournament. That is the level of impact we are talking about. So now the obvious question is, who will be that player this summer? Because the number of young talents at this World Cup is absolutely incredible. You already have established names like Jude Bellingham, who has already scored in the tournament. There is also Ryan Cherki, one of the most spectacular players on the planet. We have Ayoub Bouadi, who completely dominated Brazil's midfield as if he had been playing in the World Cup for 10 years. And we have Kendry Páez, a player whom Ecuador and Germany could only watch from behind as he went past them again and again. We have Lamine Yamal, who has already scored a goal and looks untouchable despite his age. And we have Endrick, probably Brazil's most dangerous player every time he comes off the bench. We have João Neves, absolutely essential for Roberto Martinez's Portugal. We have Pau Cubarsí, who at such a young age is already one of the best center-backs on the planet. We have Désiré Doué, the conqueror of Europe, and we have Nico Paz, the player who took Como to Europe. Every one of them is special. Every one of them can change the course of a match. Every one of them represents the future of football. But Gilberto Mora shines with a light of his own, because he is not doing it in a comfortable environment. He is not doing it as a luxury piece in a team full of superstars. He is doing it at the most important moment for the Mexican national team. He is doing it in a World Cup that is being held partly in his own country. He is doing it with the weight of an entire nation on his shoulders, and somehow, at only 17 years old, he seems ready. In a country where football never stops creating hope, Gilberto Mora has arrived as an exception. Not because of his background, nor his physique, nor even his youth. The anomaly lies in the way he plays, in his vision of the field, in the way he receives the ball, the way he decides before everyone else even understands what is happening. The strange thing is not that Gilberto Mora is 17 years old. The strange thing is that sometimes he plays as if he were 30. Born in Tuxtla Gutiérrez in 2008 and developed in northern Mexico, thousands of kilometers away from his native Chiapas, Mora made his first team debut for Tijuana at just 15 years and 10 days old. That day, he became the 3rd youngest debutant in Liga MX history. But that was only the beginning. Just minutes later, he provided an assist and became the youngest player ever to register an assist in the history of the competition, wearing the number 251, a number that at first looked like nothing more than an academy shirt. But with every match, it started to feel more like the serial number of a prototype built ahead of its time. Just 1 year before his debut, Mora was still playing youth football. At only 14 years old, he was already playing for Tijuana's under-19 team. In 2024, he played 826 minutes during the Apertura, 39% of all available minutes. Then he played 54% of the available minutes during the 2025 Clausura. Those numbers alone are already incredible for a teenager, but the impact was even greater. The youngest goal scorer in the history of the tournament. A starter in a Gold Cup semi-final that proved decisive in reaching the final, and it was not just any assist. Against Honduras, Mora delivered one of those passes that only special players can see. First, watch the movement. He analyzed the Honduran defense, identified the exact gap left by the opposition, attacked it perfectly, and received the ball in the open space. But it was not only physical. Mentally, he was already one step ahead. With one movement, he left his marker behind. Then came the magic. Mora saw a passing opportunity when nobody else could see it and delivered the ball perfectly to Raúl Jiménez, who finished the move with a brilliant goal. That is the key with Mora. His records are impressive, but what truly stands out is his ability to perform on the biggest nights. In the Gold Cup final against the United States, with the entire stadium waiting to see whether the youngster would finally feel the pressure, he finished the match with a 93% passing accuracy. No nerves, no unnecessary tricks, no panic, no mistakes. And by winning that tournament in 2025, at just 16 years and 265 days old, Gilberto Mora became the youngest footballer ever to lift an international title with Mexico. His status as a decisive player becomes more undeniable every single match. He shows up on every big night. At the 2025 FIFA U20 World Cup, Mora looked like the best player on the field, despite being 2 years younger than many of his opponents. Against Brazil, he rescued Mexico with an assist in the 85th minute. Then came his masterpiece against Spain. His first goal showed extraordinary composure. He received the ball inside the penalty area and calmly finished past the goalkeeper, as if he felt no pressure at all. Later in the same match, when Mexico desperately needed a result, Mora once again became decisive. 85th minute, a perfect volley, another equalizer, another rescue mission, another reminder that he possesses one of the most difficult skills in football, finishing first time under pressure. That goal kept Mexico's qualification hopes alive after 2 draws in their opening group stage matches. Then, in the round of 16, Mora produced another moment of pure quality. He controlled a long pass from midfield with his first touch. Immediately, he became the provider and slipped the ball to Yael Jimenez, who finished with precision. 5 goal contributions, 5 matches. And somehow, what he is doing at this World Cup feels even more important. In his first World Cup match as a starter, he played like the most experienced player in the Mexican national team. 1 pre-assist, 2 key passes, 1 shot, 18 carries, 31 touches. It took him a little while to grow into the match, but once he found his rhythm, his passing began to dismantle the Czech Republic. In a game that is becoming faster and faster, Mora keeps the ball moving without needing to sprint. He starts on the left, cuts inside onto his right foot, combines in tight spaces, passes only when necessary, and carries the ball when the situation demands it. He is not a player who produces huge numbers, but whenever he touches the ball, the game becomes organized. When he carries the ball, he drags defenders with him. When he turns, spaces open up. And that is exactly what happened against the Czech Republic. Beyond the statistics, there are details that make his profile even more special. One thing he showed against the Czechs that cannot be overlooked is his ability to receive the ball with his back to goal and turn within seconds. Every ball that reaches him has only one intention: to move forward. Mexico has almost never had a midfielder like this. There are very few players in world football who think this way. And that match also proved something even more important. Mora is becoming the true conductor of El Tri. He drops deep to connect with the midfielders. He drags defenders out of position. He accelerates from central areas. He breaks defensive lines with his ball carries. He is not just a striker or a winger. He is the one who decides how and when Mexico plays. And when he receives the ball in the number 10 position, that is where the real magic appears. The speed with which he spots an opportunity and executes the pass is elite. Just look at the passes he produced against the Czech Republic. First, the 1-2 with Piojo Alvarado that broke the opponent's final defensive line. Then, the perfectly weighted through ball to Romo that left him completely alone. It does not matter where Mora receives the ball, he will find the gap. His panoramic vision gives him a 360-degree perspective, which is why he almost always makes the correct decision. Mora scans the game, he passes, he carries the ball. And Mexico's second goal proved it. Gilberto picked up the ball inside his own half, eliminated opponents with a single movement, carried the ball forward at a controlled tempo, scanned the field, and spotted Jorge Sanchez attacking the space behind the defensive line. Then, with a perfectly weighted pass, he placed the ball into the ideal space between the defenders and the goalkeeper. It was the kind of pass that only Gilberto Mora can produce in this Mexican team. Everything that followed became chaos. A deflection, a scramble, a goal for Mexico. But the origin of the move was Mora's intelligence. This kind of performance is not normal. Mexico has never had a player like this. His football intelligence is different. His composure is greater than that of almost any Mexican player, and he showed it not only against the Czech Republic, but also in his World Cup debut, when he dared to do what others would never attempt against South Africa. He went to the ground fighting for the ball in midfield, got back to his feet immediately, and produced a perfectly executed backheel for Piojo Alvarado, who then assisted Raúl Jiménez in a move that almost resulted in a penalty. Once again, everything started with Mora. In just 2 matches, he has already forced opponents to assign triple coverage to him, because if they do not, his magic destroys them. He is a genius who continues deciding matches even when everyone's legs begin to tire. We saw it at the U20 World Cup. We are seeing it now. He can adapt and play in any area of the pitch. As a left-sided midfielder in a 3-man midfield, he also excels. He controls the tempo. He slows the game down, he speeds it up when necessary, and he presses intelligently. That is why the question is no longer whether Gilberto Mora is a promising talent, but how far he can go. Football is never an exact science, especially when it comes to teenagers, but there are signs, clear signs. Mora has not only stood out because of his statistics and his standout moments, but also because of a maturity that simply does not match his age. His ability to anticipate the rhythm of the game, remain calm under pressure, carry the ball with determination, and identify spaces makes him one of the most serious prospects Mexico has produced in the last decade. Barcelona have already offered him a trial. Manchester City have been following him closely. Real Madrid continue to monitor him with great interest. And the truth is, it makes perfect sense. There are very few players who possess that combination of game intelligence, technical ability, and composure at just 17 years old. Of course, he still has to develop physically because his body is still that of a teenager. Tactically as well, because he still plays for a team that does not always maximize his full potential. Mentally too, because early success can be extremely difficult to handle. But the most important thing is that he is already there. He already has a playing style that is unique, solid, and clearly defined. He does not need to touch the ball 90 times to stand out. He only needs to appear when the match demands it. And whenever that happens, he delivers. With Gilberto Mora, there is not only promise, there is already the present. He is not only the youngest player to make history, provide assists, score goals, or lift the Gold Cup. He is a footballer who thinks the game through passing, ball carrying, and space. He is never blinded by the occasion. He never disconnects from the match. He plays with a maturity that simply should not exist in a 17-year-old. And that is why this World Cup has a serious new star, Gilberto Mora.